Well, Cavendish will, of course, be competing at London 2012 this summer, but the confusion over tickets for the Olympics continues. We've learned that the government has no breakdown of the allocation to the public, even though the taxpayer is footing the £9.3 billion bill for the Games. It means there's still huge secrecy around who's got tickets for the premier events.
The London organisers, LOCOG, Seb Coe and his body, they know exactly where the tickets have gone. So far they've been reluctant to tell us because they say that their seats haven't been allocated properly, they haven't made their full plans. They have now done that, and yet they still say that they won't give us the breakdown. And I think the problem is that, like I say, while it is up to them to sell the tickets, they are primarily responsible for raising money, and so they will be wanting to give them to sponsors as much as possible. And the fact that the government has absolutely no indication as to where these tickets have been allocated means there is no public accountability, and that's the problem, because the government could easily have decided that they wanted to keep tabs on this because it is a very important issue. They've decided to hand it all over to LOCOG. They can do what they like with the tickets, and we won't know until LOCOG decide to tell us.
Let's get more on this story. We can speak to the UK director of Viagogo, Ed Parkinson. Good afternoon to you, Ed. So we've learned that the government then has absolutely no say over or awareness of how tickets have been allocated to the public. Does that surprise you at all?
Well, it's worthwhile remembering that the Olympics is the biggest ever ticketed event in UK history. So knowing right now, 6 months ahead of time, exactly where every ticket is perhaps a bit impractical. But I am surprised that the government has no information, given that the Games has been funded partly by public money, and it's very much in the public interest that the Games are coming to London. It would seem that the public would definitely want to know where the tickets have been allocated and how much they're getting back for that investment.
Yeah, you've got some experience of ticketing on a mass scale. Do you think there should be some kind of accountability, especially as you mentioned that this event is practically paid for by the public?
Yes, I think that what the public really want here is transparency, and I think that in particular in the way that the tickets are allocated, there's only a few ways you can allocate tickets for an event. You can auction them to the highest bidder, or you can run a lottery system, or allocate them on a first-come, first-served basis. And the organisers have done two of those by first running a lottery and then allocating the rest on a first-come, first-served basis. So in my view, that's a fair way to do it, but perhaps they haven't been transparent enough about why that's been done, and certainly on the numbers, to give people the confidence that they're looking for.
Do you think now LOCOG should be more open about how these tickets have been allocated?
Well, at Viagogo we see this all the time, and we operate a resale marketplace for many of the biggest sports events across Europe, and whether it's the Six Nations or European football or tennis at Wimbledon, many of these organisations do volunteer the information about exactly where their tickets go, whether it's how much goes to season ticket holders or how much they put in a public ballot or how many are allocated to hospitality. And I think that they do that, and I think it helps to give the public and their ticket buyers confidence in the event and where tickets are going.
Do you think then the issue of this is in fact that they just don't have a clue where the tickets are at the moment, or you think they're just being secretive about it?
I couldn't say which it is. I'm sure there'll certainly be somebody who knows, not least for matters of security in terms of where tickets have been allocated and where they're coming from. It may not be their top priority to pull all the numbers together, but I think certainly it's something that is important for people to know.
Obviously, in Sydney, it did emerge that only 14 Category A tickets for the diving final were available to the public, which is quite a shock, really. Should they be doing more, I guess, to assure the British public that nothing like that has happened here? Because I guess the British public would be up in arms about something like that.
It's difficult to comment on that statistic out of context, that one doesn't know how many Category A tickets there were in the first place. But certainly, I think, as I've said a moment ago, transparency really helps build confidence, and it certainly gives people that reassurance that the Games have been done in a way that's in the public interest and fairly. So I think the more transparent that people can be, the better.
OK, good to speak to you. Thanks ever so much for your thoughts, Ed.
Thank you.
OK, we're going to be going